Mr. O'Hara, let's start first by setting the stage for our listeners. If you would tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your company.
Sure. My name is Bob O'Hara. I'm the owner of O'Hara & Company, and we're basically a firm that assists business owners in gaining the peace of mind that they're charting a course for their future and the success of their company beyond their leadership. What we like to do is we like to help owners, our intention is to help owners secure their future and control the destiny of their business. And we've been doing this through a service we call exit planning for business owners for a number of years now.
Now, exit planning sounds a little grim. What are we talking about? Selling the business or perhaps having our survivors deal with it?
Well, basically what we're talking about here is allowing the business owner to determine for themselves where they want to go with their ownership interest. So we're planning for both the voluntary and the involuntary. But I always like to tell business owners that if you own a business, there are basically 5 ways you can leave that business. You can sell it to a third party. You could sell it to a family member or co-owner. It could be sold to an employee or a group of employees. You'll die owning your business, or someday your company will be liquidated. But one of those 5 things will actually happen to your ownership interest. But the good news is all 5 of them can be planned for.
When it comes to small businesses, what's been your experience? Anybody giving any thought to this?
No, that's what we're seeing is that owners believe this type of planning is something they do soon before they leave their business. That within a year or 2 before they're getting ready to leave, they're going to begin this kind of planning. But the truth is this is actually long-term business planning that we recommend begin at least 6 to 8 years before an owner ever plans on leaving their company.
6 to 8 years. I mean, in 6 to 8 years out, most small business people are just trying to, make payroll, etc.
Exactly. And I think the thing here is that a lot of owners, when they begin their business, they never realize that at some point they have plans to start a business and to run a business, but not realizing that there is a need to actually have a plan to leave a business. And at some point we know you will leave a business either voluntarily or otherwise. And so you want to make sure that you have a plan in place that will allow you to realize the value you created in that company.
A lot of business owners will say, well, my business is unique. There's nothing like it in the world, or I wouldn't be doing it. So is there any sort of commonality in planning that you have seen over the years that everybody should be involved in, or is each business so different that each exit plan has to be custom-made?
No, there is basically a logical and thought-out process that every business owner can use to adjust the subject. Now, each business will have its nuances to what will affect it differently, but you can follow and be consistent with how you approach this, regardless of the size or complexity of your business.
As you look back over your career in doing this, what has been one of the toughest jobs that you've had to do?
The hardest part of the job is educating owners the need to plan for this and have enough time to plan for this. So what makes it difficult is making sure that owners understand just how much time is required to successfully plan out an exit from your business or leaving your business.
When it comes to time, that is indeed one of the biggest problems that every small business operator has, is finding the time to do it. Is this something that you do when you sit around the kitchen table at night, or is this something that requires board meetings, or what?
Well, what we recommend is that an owner build an advisory team. They're working with different professionals already in this area. They'll have a CPA, they can have their attorneys, they have a financial advisor, and they may have a business consultant that they're working with. And we encourage them to bring this team together and lay out a goal of what they want to have happen for their business long term, and then build a strategy using this team of advisors working together to help that owner accomplish that goal. And I'm going to take a quick aside to this, is that I had heard the story, about 4 or 5 years ago now, where an investment banker said to a group of business owners, you have to view yourself not only as the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, but also as the Chief Exit Officer. This is a part of your job of business ownership, is to set a goal and set us where you want to go with your business, and then have a team help you get there. And so think of yourself not only as just as the current operating head of the business, but also as your chief exit officer as well.
There's probably nothing quite as sad as seeing a lifetime of work crumble after the business owner dies suddenly without a plan. I suspect you've seen a few of those.
Yes, and that is the norm when there isn't enough planning done for the involuntary exit. You know, a lot of business owners, what they'll do is they may just purchase a life insurance policy and think they're all set. But there's been no planning put in place for the operation of that company or how the company could continue to be operated or liquidated in an orderly fashion. And one of the things I'd like to always emphasize to business owners is that they should put in writing their knowledge about the business. Way too many closely held business owners keep too much information stored in their head and do not spend any time documenting that knowledge anywhere. And God forbid, when one of these situations happen, you have the family members and those key employees of the business looking for information about what they knew and how it should be run or where this knowledge exists, and it's nowhere to be had. And that's why you hear about these terrible stories, is because they don't have the knowledge anywhere to turn to effectively allow that business to continue or be orderly liquidated.
I guess anybody who has bought a going business probably realizes that in some way, because they're probably at one time or another have called the previous owner and said, "Where is this?" or "How did you handle that?"
Correct. And the more time an owner spends thinking about that and documenting that, the more effective their business can be long term.
What would you like our listeners to get out of this conversation, the takeaway message, if you would?
Basically, that if you own a business, you are going to leave it, either voluntarily or otherwise. And so you want to have a plan in place for that event long term. Where are you going with this business? And it's part of the responsibilities of owning a business is to think about the end game as well. I mean, you've spent all of this time and energy creating an asset. The question is, how are you going to realize the value from that asset one day?
Where can our listeners get more information about you and your company?
I would recommend, I realized quite a while ago now, there is very little information out there. I mean, you can walk into any bookstore in the country and find plenty of books on how you start a business and how you run a business. But there's very little information out there about how you leave a business. So I created a website to fill that void and allow owners to educate themselves at their leisure on this subject. And that website is www.exitplanning-edu.com. And I'm always out there updating that information that's on that site, and it's there for the owner's benefit.
Anything you'd like to add, Mr. O'Hara, that we've not talked about?
I think that's it. I think if you just realize that this is a positive planning process and just part of being a business owner.